Good evening, America. You're watching Newsstream, where headlines cut through the noise. I'm your anchor, Tavon. Tonight, we're diving into a political scandal that's erupting inside the Trump administration, a crisis that started with a single message and ended with a storm. We're calling it Signalgate. It was supposed to be a secure, strategic communication line. 19 of the nation's most powerful officials gathered in a private Signal group chat to coordinate a U.S. military strike on Houthi militants in Yemen. Top defense, intelligence, and White House staff were involved. But then, a seismic mistake. A journalist, The Atlantic's editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg, was accidentally added to the group. He saw it all. He watched it unfold in real time. And he had receipts. What followed was chaos. Political chaos, military chaos, media chaos, and now the blame game has begun. Some officials are pointing fingers, others are dodging questions. A few have gone silent, hiding in the shadows, hoping this explosive moment simply blows over. But make no mistake, this isn't a blip. This is a national security mess. And the American people deserve to know how deep this goes. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, one of the key figures who texted exact timing and weapons system details, is lashing out at the media, not taking responsibility. He claims, "Nobody was texting war plans." But documents released by The Atlantic say otherwise. And while Hegseth digs in, calling the media hoax peddlers, former national security officials tell a more terrifying story. The information he shared? Likely classified. Potentially dangerous. Enough to compromise operations and put American service members at risk. CIA Director John Ratcliffe, the first to share sensitive data in the chat, played it carefully during Senate hearings. He refused to admit fault, but subtly pushed responsibility onto others, namely Hegseth and the Secretary of Defense. The Secretary of Defense is the original classification authority, a technical answer, a political sidestep. It didn't end there. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, noticeably uncomfortable, claimed she couldn't remember details from the chat. Then later, when more texts came out, admitted she might have been mistaken. Her answers were inconsistent, evasive, and left the public with more questions than clarity. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance tried to project unity with Trump, but private messages revealed internal doubts about the timing and strategy behind the Yemen strike. And while Vance's office insists he fully supports the president, the vice president has yet to publicly acknowledge his earlier hesitation. One man at the center of it all? National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, the creator of the Signal chat. The man who added Goldberg. The man who, with one careless click, blew open the door to this entire scandal. To his credit, Waltz admitted his error. He took full responsibility in a Fox News interview. But even that came with a twist. He questioned how Goldberg's number ended up in his contacts in the first place, hinting at shady tactics or mistaken identity. "You ever save a number that pops up with the wrong name?" he asked nervously. Maybe he was sucked in. Waltz, like others, also turned on the media, calling Goldberg bottom scum and slamming The Atlantic for labeling the leaked messages as war plans. Here's the truth. The words used don't change the gravity of what happened. Whether they were attack plans or operational coordination, these were not messages meant for the eyes of a journalist, and certainly not for the public, adversaries, or foreign spies who may now have insight into American military thinking. And while some officials fight to control the narrative, others are choosing silence. Secretary Marco Rubio, who posted little in the chat, tried to keep the peace, describing the group as a coordination tool, not a war room. On a visit to the Caribbean, he said simply, "Obviously, someone made a mistake. A big mistake. Nothing against journalists, but you ain't supposed to be on that thing." Even so, silence isn't always safety. Others involved, like Joe Kent, Stephen Miller, Scott Bessent, and a handful of senior security advisors, have barely spoken publicly, choosing instead to repost criticisms of the media or issue vague legal statements. Bessent, Treasury Secretary, gave a careful answer when asked about the scandal, saying, "I'll leave all of that to the legal experts." But behind the scenes, he's already moved to preserve phone data in the face of a growing lawsuit. And while all this unfolds, Trump himself has stood, at least publicly, by his team. But for how long? This is more than a leak. It's a crisis of communication, a breach of basic protocol. And in the age of digital warfare, every word, every message, every emoji matters. It's a stunning example of what happens when power is mismanaged, technology is misunderstood, and accountability gets lost in the spin cycle of political survival. The American people deserve better. Our troops deserve better. Our national security demands better. This is Signalgate, and this story is far from over. I'm Tivon. This is News Extreme, and we'll be watching.